This week's episode of Fireside is brought to you by Legends of Belize and Wonders Oddities Expo.
Hello, everybody. You're listening to Fireside Paranormal Podcast. My name is Jordan Cline. I have a really neat show planned out today. My guest tonight is Damion Christy. He is the host of Life Beyond 6 Feet, another great podcast out there, and we had a fun take on it. I was actually a guest on his show as well, and we interviewed each other, and it's both being released this week. So I thought y'all would enjoy being a part of it. I'd also like to thank you for bearing with me these last couple weeks. I actually recorded this show Super Bowl Sunday, but with Damion, he wasn't releasing it till this week, so I didn't think it was too fair to release it early. I wanted to do it at the same time, so it gave me a little bit more freedom and flexibility to record some other really cool guests that are coming up in the next few weeks, so be on the lookout for that. A lot of cool stuff coming up. Before we get to the interview, just have a few announcements.
Legends of Belize is a series about mythical creatures that dwell in the jungles and waters of Belize. The Belizean legends are captured, documented, and preserved like never before in a comprehensive art series and books with fully colored and detailed images of fine art by artists, authors, and award-winning animators Dismas and Christy G. Discover the supernatural creatures that await deep in the jungles, such as the mysterious dwarf called Tata Duende with backwards feet known to rip the thumbs off of trespassers, or the beautiful shape-shifting woman known to locals as the Ishtabai, who seduces drunks to never be seen again. These creatures and many more can be found in the Legends of Belize books. Learn about the cryptozoological, paranormal, and unexplained creatures that haunt Belize. Be fascinated. Be terrified. Belize. Legend of Belize books are available in print and ebook. Buy your copy from your favorite online bookstore such as Amazon, KDP, Apple Books, and many more. Also be sure to visit legendsofbelize.com.
I will also be at the Wonders Oddities Expo in Moundsville, West Virginia, at the West Virginia State Penitentiary, March 25th. There's an event the 25th and 26th. These shows are so much fun. They put on a great event. So many types of vendors. The atmosphere is awesome, and it's always got something going on. Again, it's March 25th and 26th at the West Virginia State Penitentiary in Moundsville. This is really an event you don't want to miss. They got so much stuff happening this year. If you haven't followed the Wonders Oddities Expo Facebook page, go and do it. They have a dark carnival coming up. They have tattoo conventions coming up. It's going to be a blast. Remember, I am on the cover of the January-February issue of American Paranormal Magazine. If you haven't had the chance to get it yet, paranormalzine.com. Go support them. It's the West Virginia issue. And you boys on the cover, you got to get it. This week's featured story comes in from Kaya.
All right. Hello, my name is Kaya Romanek, and I am from Denver, Colorado.
How about that?
All right. So my story is one time I was using a ghost box with me and my friend. We were walking around, walking through the cemetery, no big deal. Nothing really of substance happened, but we so happened to come across one particular gravestone that caught my attention. After that, I started asking questions like, "Hi, how are you? Is there anybody home? Would you like to talk to us?" And after a little while of just getting a bunch of random nonsense feedback, we decided to walk away. But as we walk away, we heard the name Tom. And so I so happened to turn around and look at the gravestone, and that is the name of the husband on the gravestone. Shortly after that, talking to Tom and his wife, we decide to walk away again, but my friend starts getting attacked by a bee. And they turn to me and they're like, "Hey, is there a bee on me?" And then over the ghost box, we hear, "No bee."
No bee.
No bee. And then we hear domestic stuff going back and forth between both of them.
Like they're fighting?
Yeah, like they're fighting. And then we hear the wife, Betty, say, "He never listens to me."
Thank you so much, Kai. And if you want your story to be one of our featured stories, make sure you send me an email, firesideparanormalpodcast@gmail.com, and we can get you on.
Hey guys, this is Todd, Sean, and Nate, and we are from the Middle Aged and Creeped Out podcast. We drop full episodes every Wednesday night or Thursday morning, and our middle-aged mini episodes drop on Saturday afternoons at 3 o'clock.
And if you enjoy discussions about the paranormal, weird, unexplained, and just plain creepy, then check out our show. You can find us however you listen to your favorite podcasts. If you like what you hear, don't hesitate to give us a 5-star rating and review. Telling a friend, family member, or even a coworker about us helps the show.
And you can also find us on Facebook and Instagram by searching Middle Aged and Creeped Out. And our TikTok is @Mako Podcast, and that's with 2 A's.
Well, Nate, what do you think?
That's the end of our promo, and that's a wrap.
Well, there you go. So until next time, creepies, Nate is your sound engineer. We are your hosts, Todd and Sean.
And they are middle-aged and creeped out. Keep it creepy.
All right, I want to get to my guest. Join me by the fire as we welcome Damion Christy. He is the host of Life Beyond 6 Feet. Now, this one's going to be a little different than the other shows that we've done because, like I had said before, you're going to hear him introducing me as well for his show because this is a dual interview. We're interviewing each other for each other's show. So, pretty cool concept. So, here we go.
Welcome, everyone, to Life Beyond 6 Feet. I'm Damion from RKB Paranormal, and this week I have a very special guest. I have another podcast host joining us this week. I have Mr. Jordan Cline from Fireside Paranormal Podcast. Jordan, welcome to Life Beyond 6 Feet, man.
Hey. Thank you.
Hey.
Really looking forward to this. This is going to be a fun one. I don't know if you want me to spill the beans or not, but...
Hey, go right ahead.
All right, so I have a show... and you have a show. So the cool thing with this is we're interviewing each other at the same time
Right.
for our shows.
There you go.
So
It's gonna
this could either be really, really good or really, really bad. We'll see how it rolls.
I think it'd be all right. Like I said, most of my shows, I don't have anything prepared anyway. I just kind of wing it. So that's how we're going to do this.
Sounds perfect.
All right, man. Well, I want to go ahead and jump right in. So how did you kind of get started down this path of podcasting about the paranormal?
Oh man. So you want like the long story or you want me to keep it short?
Hey, you can give me whatever version you feel necessary, buddy.
All right, I'll try to keep it excuse me. I'll try to keep it under 20 minutes. No. So I had a cousin. Well, I still have a cousin. His name's Nick. And he was in college at the time. He was doing a class on tourism, right? And I guess they were pulling topics out of the hat, and his just happened to be paranormal tourism, right?
Okay.
So he's like, all right, well, let's figure out what we can do, and finds a ghost hunting 101 class at the West Virginia State Penitentiary.
Oh, wow.
Now, that's only like 20 minutes from where we live, so that's not like a huge trip. So he's like, I'm not going alone. You're going with me.
Right.
Okay. I ain't got nothing better to do. And we end up going. We're trying to figure out, like, what do we even take? Don't even know anything about it. Like, we watched Ghost Hunters a couple times just, like, in prep. We were clueless, right? This was a whole new... This was, like, 2007, somewhere between 2006, 2008, somewhere around that time.
Okay.
Right. I even want to say 2006. And it wasn't really big at the time. This was all pretty fresh. Like podcasting wasn't even a thing there. So we started doing investigations, or we did that investigation. We got hooked, right? Just like right off the bat, like we were glued. Like we got a EVP like right away. We're like, this is amazing. So we end up starting a group, right, called the Wheeling Society of Paranormal Research, right, WSPR. And then there was a local radio station that as we, how do I want to say, like, as we got, like, really cool evidence that we didn't know or we couldn't explain away, Like they would always have us on the show. It's some show during the day. There was like 2 or 3 of them that always had us on, and we would give, the evidence to talk about it. Well, the general manager's like, man, do you know anybody that would want to do like a paranormal show? We're like, we'll do it.
Right.
Right. We'll figure it out. And then he goes, great. You start Wednesday.
Oh, shit.
So here we are, right? In our 20s. I'll say we were in our 20s. No clue what we were doing, especially no experience with live radio. And we had our own live radio show go, right? So it was very trial and error. And it was really, podcasting wasn't a big thing. So what I would do is record the shows, and then we just stick them online. And then, like we found like a podcast, Libsyn. I've used Libsyn since 2008. Great company. Quick plug, use Fireside or use code Fireside for 2 free months of hosting. But I've used them since 2008, and really just recorded the live shows and stuck them out there. We did that for several years, and then I took like a 9-year hiatus, 8-9 year hiatus, started having kids, moved away, and when I moved back to West Virginia, that radio station had reached out, and then another guy from that was on the radio station had reached out on a separate project, and I was like, I'm gonna start the show back up. And then, okay, so the I'm talking all kinds of circles. It's late. The group was called WSPR, and then the show we had was called Whisper. Right. So Whispers Radio, that's how the name came. And then when I was redoing it, they were like, hey, don't have anything that, was associated with the previous radio station. So I chose Fireside.
There you go. Now, when you took that hiatus, were you still kind of intrigued by the paranormal? Did you still investigate, or did you just like stop completely?
Oh man, this is going to sound horrible, but I was so distracted. I mean, I have 4 small kids.
Right.
So like, yeah, I love horror movies and things like that, but really the big, like in-depth investigation kind of stuff, I didn't have the time to follow. Right.
Oh, I understand, but the 4 kids, it definitely got to take a back seat to
and
that.
They're all like 2 years apart. So like there's a huge span where we did not sleep, like we haven't slept in years.
Right.
Which, you would think as an investigator, that would be really good, but like, yeah, like didn't follow much, didn't really connect, but I always had people reaching out like, what does this mean? What does this mean? Hey, look at this picture. Like that never stopped. So like after, close to a decade, like I was still getting these messages.
Right. And, so it was still kind of there, but it wasn't there like mainstream. It was just kind of dangling in the back of your head. And it sounds like it was just kind of meant to be, because it was still kind of there for you.
Yeah. I made some really good connections with folks. A lot. I'm all about networking. I love talking to people. I love, meeting new people and building those relationships. And, some of those folks, like, I just we ended up adding on Facebook. This was the time before, like, social media wasn't what it is now. Right. So when you would make connections with folks, you were talking to them on the phone. Like, I don't want to just sit and name drop a bunch of people, but like really cool connections with folks that were big into the paranormal world that I just stayed in contact with. So when people would message me and say, hey, I got this going on, like I would point them in that direction. You know what I mean? I'd have somebody to reach out to. Hey, what do you think of this? What do you think of this? Do you want me to connect you guys? Things like that.
Right. So in that first initial investigation, you said Eastern State Penitentiary. So that was like your
West Virginia State Penitentiary.
West Virginia. That's right. You're in West. See, I done got my jails, my prisons mixed up.
You of all people should know better now, right?
Right. It's late here too. I'm tired as myself. So, so that was your like very first investigation. Like you'd never done it before. That was like your very first one.
Yeah.
And that's a hell of a place to start out at. So.
Right. How many people can say they cut their teeth at the penitentiary, right?
Right. That's kind of like us. We started ours at Brushy Mountain Penitentiary here in Tennessee. So we have that similarity. So other than some cool EVPs, what was like your overall experience there?
Have you ever been?
I've not been.
It is. I mean, you've seen pictures.
Oh yeah.
Okay, so for those of you listening, this place is like a Gothic castle.
Mm-hmm.
It is huge and just, I don't want to say wonderful because a lot of bad happened there, right?
Right.
But it is in what's the word you would say? It wouldn't be awe. It just it takes you back. Like you look
Right.
at it and it looks like you're going back in time.
Mm-hmm.
It's just this huge Gothic looking castle.
Right.
The place is fantastic. You go in, it looks like it's been shut down forever. It was only just closed in the 90s,
Mm-hmm.
right? But just everything looks so old. Does that date me?
No, not at all. I don't think you're much older than I am. So
Does that date me? No. So you go in there. I mean, you do like the classroom part and what we did. Sherry Brake, she's the one that led the class. She is, man, I know at the time she's award winning on her ghost hunts. She runs Haunted Heartland tours.
Mm-hmm.
And I mean, they do different countries, not only, in the area, but I mean, they do Ireland tours and Scotland tours. I mean, she is well deserved of every accolade she's gotten. And
Right.
we were blessed to be in her. I think she's written like 30 books.
Oh wow.
She's amazing. And we were blessed to learn by her. So after, we learned what everything did and what the terms were, we'd go on like a little tour of what the place is and then, set loose on an investigation for the rest of the night. And there's one instance, I've told this several times. I know on our Patreon, I've told the story a few times, but let's see, the North Hall at the penitentiary is where they put like the worst of the worst.
Right.
Right. Those were like the really bad guys they stuck there. And, okay. So again, the equipment was a lot different back then than it is now. People nowadays have all kinds of cool toys and things that,
Right.
you know what I mean? Like,
Uh-huh.
I mean, what do you guys like? The cat balls and different techniques. Like it was very rudimentary, right?
Right.
We had like dowsing rods and crystals on string and like, oh no,
Right on came unplugged.
I got too excited.
There we go.
Man,
You're
I'm
back.
so unprofessional tonight. You're never going to have me back on. Goodness gracious.
Oh,
I blame it on the Super Bowl. I blame it on all the UFOs that are flying around right now.
right. That's some crazy stuff.
But in North Hall, like the only equipment I had, I think I had like an EMF meter in one hand and I had like a handheld camcorder in the other, just with like night vision on.
Right.
Because like I couldn't, I didn't even have one of those headlamp flashlight deals. Like so I couldn't hold a flash. I was just like walking around with night vision. And
Right.
I'm probably like 900 foot into this hallway. And all of a sudden, like the EMF just goes, wee! And like you could see like the camera. Thank God I had the little wristband around because you could just see the camera drop and like look at my feet and you hear me go, Nick! And my feet like,
Oh, that's great. All right. So you wanna throw a couple of questions out at me?
yeah, man, with your group, like what are some places? It's been a little while since we talked.
Right.
So what locations have y'all done here lately?
Here lately, just a few weeks ago, we were back at the Old Stone Jail in Franklin, Kentucky. That was our second visit there. First time we went, it was kind of one of those dead nights, but this night, actually before that was we actually got started investigating. Me and Josh did a live stream interview with the team that kind of oversees the investigations there, and that was my first time ever doing a live stream interview. And while we were doing it, my wife and the other ladies that were with us as part of the team, they were upstairs in the cells kind of pre-investigating while we were, interviewing and stuff. And probably about 10 minutes into the interview, you hear one of the girls kind of scream.
Oh no.
And I'm like, oh man. So I got up to make sure everything was okay. And come to find out, during that whole time we were interviewing, they were getting their hair pulled. They were, having breathing on their neck, and they were just kind of freaking out. And the one that screamed, she actually had made the comment that, I like my hair pulled, ha ha ha. And it wasn't just a couple minutes later, she had her hair pulled pretty good. So,
oh gosh, no.
And so it kind of spooked her a little bit, but excuse me. Throughout the night, it was just, kind of a slow night kind of to begin with, and then we did a Estes session up in one of the cells Josh did, and we're going to use our spirit box, and it was dead. And I was like, well, he's like, I'll just use necrophonic on my phone. So he pulls out his phone, and he's doing his thing, and just out of nowhere, this song starts playing. It was probably like half a second of a song, right?
Mm-hmm.
And where the hell did that come from? And after the fact, I was thinking about it, if that would have been somebody's cell phone, they moved around, it turned their phone on in their pocket, whatever, it would have played longer than it did, because they would have had to pull it out of their pocket, unlock it, get on there and stop it.
So it wasn't from the app. It wasn't from the app that you were using.
Was not from the app, was not from any of our cell phones. It's like I said, it would have played for at least a good 6-7 seconds.
Oh.
It played maybe half a second. And I was like, well, that's really weird. We couldn't figure it out. And then at the end, Josh pulled himself out of the session. He's like, man, there's some crazy stuff. Started hearing the staticky stuff from the spirit box. I'm like, what is that? And I pulled it out. It had been in my pocket for probably 30 minutes. There's no lights on. None of the numbers on the screen are on. Like, I'm pounding the power button to turn it off, and it just is doing that staticky sound.
Oh, wow.
Like we had to take the batteries out of it for it to stop. And so again, my thinking, I'm like, man, if this had any juice left in these batteries, it should have probably turned on while I was walking around, right?
Yeah.
I was standing perfectly still when this thing just turned on. And, we were kind of tripped out by that too. And so to end the night, I was doing an Estes session in that same cell, using the necrophonic on my phone. And that right at the very end, it just got completely quiet. Like nothing was coming through, no voices, no static, no kind of noise. And I just, in the snap of my fingers, I started bawling, like tears rolling down my face. Yes. And it was to the point where Josh had to come in and pretty much just pick me up out of the chair and drag me out, because I didn't want to leave that cell.
Wow.
It was pretty wild. And so, yeah, we went, that was our second time there. And then back in December, we went to Rose Opera House up in Kentucky. That was a pretty active night.
All right, so I want to ask you a question before you jump into another investigation. Right? Okay, first, what is your live stream interview? What were you doing? What does that mean?
We was just we were using StreamYard, and I was streaming the interview as it was happening through Facebook.
So you were interviewing for your show, right? Or were you doing something for okay.
I was doing it for the show, and actually, it's posted for everybody to listen to on the the team, they just offered, they're like, won't you guys come up here, interview us here, we'll do a live stream, and then you guys can investigate afterwards. I was like, hey, I'm all for it,
Okay, that's fun. That's fun.
So,
and then, like that Estes session, that's something that's new and was not around when I was, actively doing investigations.
Right.
I don't know if I've told you this yet, but I am a chicken. Right? Like, I don't think that's one thing. And, I've had like young folks on my show that's their go-to. And I can't imagine, because you go to a lot of prisons, right?
Right.
And you just blindfold yourselves and earmuffs, and you're like, you know what? I'm going to do the craziest freaking thing ever.
Right.
In an investigation in a haunted location. I'm still all right, I got my flashlight in my hand because it's going to be super dark.
No, we don't have flashlights with us either. My wife normally carries one, but everybody else.
So what do you do?
If I need to see, I'll pull my phone out real quick and turn the flashlight on my phone. But normally,
you're just walking around in the dark.
Yeah, I'm looking at the screen on the camera on the night vision.
Okay, so you have something.
Yeah,
but that's insane.
And see what makes the Estes method more interesting when Josh does it is he normally would normally handcuff him.
Yeah, no, I remember y'all telling me how you do this, and that's why I'm
Right.
saying that y'all are nuts.
And
You're like,
and
let's
here
go
the
to a
last-
prison, right? And let's not necessarily taunt the spirits, but I'm gonna handcuff myself in a cell and then blindfold myself and put
Right.
earmuffs on, like
Well, here
it's nothing.
the last couple of times he's wore leg shackles too. So if something scares the hell out of him, he can't take off running. So,
Yeah.
but yeah, I mean it's interesting, especially when you find out like stuff's kind of adding up with whatever's being asked. That's pretty cool.
Oh no, yeah, it's incredible, but hats off to you. I don't think I could do it. Like
It's-
in the heat of it, maybe, but like just sitting in my living room right now talking to you, I don't think I got the guts.
I mean, I think the craziest one that I've probably done, we was at an old post office. Was it early 2021,
Uh-huh.
and I did it locked inside of a vault. Like I couldn't get out until they opened the door and let me out. So
Dude, what
it
if
was-
something happened? Like what if apocalypse happened like at that split second and like rapture comes, like everybody's gone and you're just like stuck in the vault. Like
you know, I guess I'm gonna just stay in there and starve to death.
I
I
mean,
guess.
that's just where my brain goes every time.
But see what was crazy when I was locked in that vault, I came out with 3 scratches on the back of my neck.
Really?
Yeah, and it was pretty wild.
Like when something like that happened, like did you smell anything? Did you hear anything? Did you feel anything? Were you sick to your stomach? Like what was going on?
No, it was just it kept feeling like something was behind me. The only thing that was in that room with me, I think, was like a big, like old safe. Like that was the only other thing in this room. And it just kept feeling like there was somebody behind me. And eventually, I kept looking behind me. Of course, I can't see nothing because I have the camera set up stationary. So I'm pure darkness. I can't see nothing. And eventually my neck starts burning. And that's when I'm like, you know what, I'm done. I got to get out of here. And I'm kicking the door trying to get out. And when Josh opens the door, he's like, what's going on? I was like, I don't know. I was like, but my neck is burning. And when he looks at my neck, there's 3, they weren't huge scratch marks, but they were 3 little scratch marks in the middle of my neck.
So you didn't
And-
feel like a scratch. You felt
No.
like a hot sensation going
Yeah,
on.
just like my neck was burning. And, going back watching the video, because I was like, well, maybe I did scratch my neck at some point while I was in there. Like I never touched my neck.
Mm.
And so it was, and what's crazy about that place is during our walkthrough that night, 2 other team members got scratched on their neck too.
Same location?
Same location during the walkthrough. Like people were showing us around, and our one teammate, he was like, man, my neck's kind of burning. And I look at his neck and it's all down the side of his neck.
Oh man.
And probably wasn't 10 minutes later, our oldest son was with us that night. He started saying that his neck was kind of feeling weird. Pulled the flashlight up and you could see it forming on his neck.
All right, so I got to ask you here, Squirrel, how old's your son?
He'll be 16 in August. So right now he's 15.
Okay, how long has he been doing investigations with you?
He's been on 1, 2, I think 4.
Okay, so like just starting out?
Yeah, we officially made him a team member after our last investigation. So,
Okay, that's exciting.
Yeah, he was at the jail when all the girls were screaming up there. He was up there with them, and he was like, "Yeah, there was some crazy stuff going on up here." So, but between me and my wife, we've decided, we're not going to take him to a place that's known for like, bad stuff happening, or like, we're not going to take him somewhere bad.
Yeah.
So, I mean, of course, crazy bad stuff can happen pretty much anywhere, but if we know there's like bad shit going on somewhere, we're not going to take him. So we don't want to subject him to that. So,
Okay, so with all the stuff that you guys do, and I got to ask you this, what scares you? Right? Because obviously blindfolded in the middle of a prison, shackled up, does not. But like, what is it that gets to you? Because everybody's got that fear. Because I know I'm on all kinds of hate lists right now because I said that that I'm a chicken. I'm on a list now. But I know like everybody's afraid of something.
Um, honestly, at most locations, I get spooked by something non-paranormal.
It's a
Um,
spider.
I'll see, I'll catch my reflection in a mirror or something like that, or I'll step on a creaky floorboard and it'll send me screaming. But, no, honestly, probably when I probably get, I would say maybe the most nervous. I wouldn't necessarily say scared,
Hmm.
but it's kind of when I'm just walking alone in the dark.
Really?
Because you don't really know what's fixing to happen. You don't know what's around that corner.
You ain't got a flashlight.
No, like I said, only time I really use a flashlight is if, there's a lot of stuff around and I don't want to trip over something. So normally I'm just walking in the dark looking at that little LED screen.
Mm.
All right, so you've done a big prison, but where's some other locations you've investigated?
Now, see, when we were doing it, like it was more residential is what we
Okay.
handled. Our whole goal, we kind of treated it like I'm a church boy. We treated it like a ministry.
Right.
We knew people were afraid to be in their homes. We wanted to try to find out a way to help them. Right.
Mhm.
And Ghostbusters, goodness gracious.
Hey, that's my favorite movie, man.
It's everybody's favorite movie in this field. Ghost Hunters was the only like real show, going on at the time,
Hmm.
that everybody was following. So their whole thing was like debunking the crazy, to
Right.
give some people peace. So that's kind of the method we took with it. And we did, for big places, we did the prison several times, and we did a local college.
Mhm.
But mainly it was all residential that we handled.
Okay.
I'm trying to
So
think.
what's some of like the craziest stuff you experienced in these homes?
There was one, and it is a house that's on a historic registry here, and it's set up like a museum now. So I guess that would be a location. It was a private person that reached out to
Mhm.
us, so it wasn't really like a pay to play kind of place.
Right.
But it's set up like a museum, and it was probably hands down the most active place we'd ever been. So much, in fact, we actually had a member leave that night. Just like he had all this equipment that like he had spent, again, at that time, it was high tech stuff.
Oh man.
Just different from what it is now. But he had a lot of equipment that he just like handed it over, said, I can't, and left. And
Oh, man.
like just stopped talking to all of us. Like he it scared him. It legit scared him.
Oh man.
I worked with the guy, so he didn't like stop talking to me, but
Right.
it scared him. This place had like the disembodied voices.
Mhm.
So there were times, I don't know how you set things up, but we always had a time where we tried to get base readings, right? So we would set up
Right.
recorders and place them throughout the place. It was a 3-story house. We had a lot of recorders we'd post up, just to make sure we had all sections of the house covered, and we would just run them all, every floor, all 8 hours. It was wonderful to go through evidence, but we made sure like we had some kind of baseline reading throughout. So
Mhm.
we had, there's some times where like we would sit in a room and try to get some EVP. If you felt something, raise your hand. We go from there. We check tapes, and
Right.
we would hear some creaking and banging and knocking and responses. That's normal in some more active places where they're like doing the knocks and responses. But we
Mhm.
started hearing voices, right, of a kid.
Oh man.
Like we would be on a stairwell and you hear like ha 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 ha, like from a little
Oh.
kid, and we're like ha ha ha,
And see, that just makes it even more creepy for some reason.
it being a
I-
kid makes it horrible.
Right.
Real sing-songy, come find me, and
Oh man.
like, and we were running around like trying to chase. Nobody lived there. The place was set up like it was just an old historic home that
Right.
was empty that people could go take like tours through. They were like getting it ready, and
Right.
man, we were trying to find everything in that place, and the recording, like we got all these on recording. I got it on our YouTube. If you scroll through, I got like several clips from that place in our YouTube. I think there was a Native American I don't want to say massacre. Where I live at was heavy with things like that, battles.
Right.
And you hear what almost sounds like a war cry, screams for stop. But like in history, there was, a family that was killed there.
Oh.
So you kind of hear it all play through. So I'm a big believer that a lot of hauntings are residual, right?
Right.
Now, we were getting knockings and things like that, but who's to say it was really in response to us and not just a residual knocking that was going on? But you could definitely tell the spirits that we were hearing, especially in that tape, both audible and not, was playing out a scene of some kind.
Right.
Right. We were just a part of it at the time.
Mm-hmm.
It was incredibly crazy. And
man,
we were all praying really hard out in the parking lot before we left. Please don't come home with us. Nothing.
Right.
And like I said, a guy quit. But
man,
you'd put bouncy balls on the floor and balls would bounce. You would hear change, moving and dropping. You put change on a banister and it'd just knock off. Like there was a lot happening. It was a very active night.
Sounds like it. Now, was there ever any homes that you went in to investigate and absolutely like nothing would happen? Like it was just completely dead night. No knocks, no voices.
Yeah.
Nothing.
Oh, for sure.
Now, how did you go about handling that? Telling the owners, hey, nothing's happening. Like, because that's kind of what makes us hesitant about doing private residences, is because if nothing happens, how do we tell these people to make them think that they're not crazy? You know what I mean?
Well, first and foremost, you gotta let them know that hauntings you can't plan a haunting. You can't schedule the activity that's going on.
Right.
Even for them, if you say, hey, does something happen at the same time every single night of the week? They'll say no. But, throughout the week, we do have things happen, right? So nothing is on a set schedule. And let them know, hey, we can be in here and we're going to do a very thorough investigation. We might catch nothing at all. That happens because you can't plan it. If, we do find some things that are interesting, obviously we can come back if you're still getting things, and we can try different nights of the week. We can try different times, different moon phases, anything to have a shot at getting something, right? So it might be a place that we do a couple times.
Right.
With, how do I want to say it? Because you got to be gentle with the people, because people are calling you because they're afraid.
Right.
Right. So you can't just go in there like gung ho. You can't go in there like trying to taunt a spirit, or, I mean, you got to figure, like, my 4-year-old is scared in his bedroom. And then you go in there, like, rip your shirt off and be like, come at me, bro. Like,
right.
Yeah, it's going to wait till you leave. And then, like, that little kid still has to sleep in that room. Right. So everything you do has to be taken, in consideration with really kid gloves. Be thorough in everything you check. A lot of times we would go into places that we weren't finding anything, but there was one house that we were in. I mean, they were having all kinds of crazy dreams, just really weird experiences their home. And the reason that EMF detectors were a big deal when investigations were coming out is literally the radiation coming from wires. And, we were going through their home, and where their bed was, I mean, it was just a lot. There was the fuse box there. There was so much happening that it was setting the alarm off, and it was higher. They had a higher rating. And I was like, hey, just for the sake of trying, move your bed to the other side of the room.
Right.
And just see if it does something. And for them, it helped. But nobody is going to tell them that unless they ask.
Right.
If you didn't look at it, they'd have never thought of that. And here they were terrified of what might be. I think most people are afraid of the unknown. And if there's no explanations, the mind wanders. Right.
Right.
So it does help. Sometimes you don't find anything, but you could find some peace.
Right.
Hey, your pipes are really loud.
Right.
This is an old house that runs off a boiler system. That banging and clacking and nastiness downstairs is just that thing running. They're just loud.
Right.
Nothing's happened. Nobody's being beat to death downstairs,
Right.
It's just the noises it makes.
Now, was there ever any cases where what they were telling you was going on was just so outrageous, and you were just like, I think I have to pass on this. Because when we first started out, we got 3-4 different messages from people that was telling us some stuff that I'm like, we are definitely not equipped for this. I'm like, it sounds like you need to call an exorcist. Was there ever any cases like that where you were just like, we can't handle that?
No, we really didn't get anything like that. I'm trying to think. Again, people's minds tend to wander.
Mm-hmm.
So everything is kind of, man, I don't want to diminish anybody, because I know, like, out there somebody's going through something, and I don't want to make it seem like it's less than.
Right.
Sometimes there's an explanation
Mm-hmm.
for things that are going on, right? And our brains, especially if we spend a lot of time consuming like horror and paranormal and true crime, our gut reaction is going there,
Mm-hmm.
instantly. So sometimes really crazy things are happening that could be explained away,
Mm-hmm.
but just in the perspective that we're having, it sounds so much worse
Right.
than it really is. Does that make sense?
Oh yeah.
I'm trying to make sure I'm saying that right and respectfully.
Right.
What you're putting in is coming out.
Right. Because like I said, there was a couple of messages we received when we first started out that where if you put on paper what they were saying, it would
Mhm.
make like another Conjuring movie.
Oh,
And I'm
wow.
just like, I was like, I don't know. I'm like, I'm not doubting the people, but at the same time, I'm like, I know we are not equipped to deal with that, because I don't know what I would do if I walked into a house and furniture is flying at my head,
Right, yeah.
So I'm like, I would tell them, I'm like, you probably need to contact, a church or something, because I don't know how to deal with that.
Now there was, we did, like I said, because I treated it like a ministry. So I
Mhm.
did have a few clergy in my, I don't want to say in my pocket, but close, that knew what I was doing, and
Mhm.
if something was happening, like, we could bless your home, do things like that.
Right.
Again, it goes as far as networking, right? Like I said, I was really good at networking. So one of the folks, I'll name drop him, Dwayne Claude, who's a demonologist and just an amazing guy all around. He was always somebody that no matter what was going on, I could reach out and he could be either advice or mentorship or just something going on that I could pass through and say, hey, this is what's happening. What are your thoughts? Is this something? Is this not? And it was somebody good that wasn't attached to the situation, that you could
Mhm.
run things by. I think a good network would definitely help, especially if you're wanting to go inside residential places, to build up
Mhm.
a behind the scenes type team,
Right.
because you're not going to know everything. You're not going to have the answers for everything. But if you know somebody that might know something, or know somebody who might know somebody that might know something, it
Right.
helps.
Right. Now back to what I was talking about a few minutes ago since we last talked. Like I said, we went to Rose Opera House up in Kentucky.
Yeah, yeah.
That was a pretty crazy active night. We've actually been lucky since we started this team to not really have very many dead nights. It always seems to be pretty active everywhere we go. And I don't know if that's just because of how we approach things, or if we just get quote unquote lucky every time we go somewhere, but we haven't had very many dead nights. We're always, even if it's stuff we don't capture on video or audio, we still have those personal experiences at some of these places that it's just like, man, I was like, I don't know how this is happening every time we go somewhere.
Maybe the spirits are following you.
I mean, it could be. Because we have stuff that happens at our house too.
Oh, wow.
And so and my mom's pointed that out before too. She's like, I think something's haunting you. And I was like, hey, I don't know. I've never done anything to purposely, make one of them mad. But yeah, we went there, and we went back to the old Scott County Jail where we captured that picture flying off the wall.
Yeah.
But we went back there for our second time, and that night it wasn't a super active night, but we did have a weird experience upstairs. In that same hallway where that picture got knocked off the wall, we were doing an Estes method session in there. And they had told us that they usually get really good responses when they play gospel music.
Really?
I was like, right. I was like, well, we'll give it a shot and see what happens. And so Josh is doing the S's thing, and so we go ahead and start playing some music, and almost immediately after that music turns on, I start feeling nauseous, I start feeling dizzy, and I'm like, I don't know, something don't feel right because I'd been perfectly fine the entire night. I was getting so dizzy, like I dropped to my knees just to keep from falling.
Really?
And I told my wife, I was like, turn it off, and she turned it off. It lifted. I was fine. Um, Gave it about 5 minutes. It's like, well, let's try to play it again. She turned on a different song. Same thing. Started getting dizzy. Started feeling nauseous.
Mm.
I was like, I can't do it. I was like, I'm done. I was like, I got to go downstairs and get away for a minute. And so that, I don't know who was up there at that point, but whoever it was didn't like that music, like they said. So it was somebody totally different that night. So yeah, since we last talked we attended our first paranormal convention.
How'd that go?
It was really fun. It was the first one that we know of that's been held here in Middle Tennessee. Some of our friends put it together, and I don't remember how much money they said they raised, but I think they said they raised about $6,000 or $7,000, which is really good. And
what was it called?
It was called Phantom Calls and Historic Calls.
Okay. Yep. Okay.
They donated half of the money to a senior dog sanctuary, and they donated the other half to a historic haunted location here in Tennessee. And I gotta say, we had way more people coming up just chatting with us than I was expecting. I was expecting a few here and there, but like we was having people come up and just stand there for 20 minutes, just telling us all this stuff they have happened and what's got them interested. And I'm just like, this is going over way better than I expected. So that was pretty fun. And
well, I'll tell you what I do, and because you podcast as well, you might like doing it. I bring my equipment to record, and then I have people actually share their story. So I start my show off with somebody's personal story.
Yeah,
I love going to conventions.
Yeah,
and so I get people come over and tell me stories. I'm like, well, have a seat, let's talk about it. You'll be on the show.
Right.
And, yeah, people come up all the time. Yeah.
I mean, I know the same people are going to do another convention this year, and they've been reached out to us to see if we want to attend again. And one of the guys, he's a host of a podcast too. Eric Freeman Sims.
Mm-hmm.
He does the Unseen Paranormal podcast.
Very cool.
And he was like, well, how about, if you attend this year, he's like, you can have one table set up for your team and another table set up for the podcast and just kind of promote both of them. I was like, yeah, that's a pretty good idea. So, we did that. And, we went to another jail back in the summer. And we went to an old funeral home during the summer. So
how active was that?
The funeral home?
Yeah.
It was pretty wild. I got.
There's a lot of really hard emotions there.
It was. I mean, just the beginning of the night. It wasn't even completely dark yet. We were just kind of doing a walkthrough, kind of getting a feel for the place.
Yeah.
And I was just already filming. I was like, just in case. And we hit this spot in one of the hallways, and Josh and my wife Kelly are both like, there's something off about this hallway. Like there's just something that doesn't feel right. And after about 2 or 3 minutes, you just kind of see Josh kind of just zones out, right? And he just seems slowly just slump over, and he's like just up against the wall.
Oh.
And I'm like, what is going on? And my wife's shaking him, trying to get him to snap out of it. And it takes another team member, Adam, to coming over. He's a bigger dude, and he kind of pops him on the arm and he snaps him out of it. They're like, what was that? He's like, I don't know. He was like, I just seen all these people in front of me. He's like, it had to be at least 50 people. And they were all asking me questions and saying all this stuff because he's kind of sensitive to some things. But he was like, I've never experienced this before. He was like, they were all dressed in like dresses and suits, kind of like they may have been in that funeral home at some point. And he was like, it was really weird. They all seemed like they were scared and kind of running from something. And he said he remembers hearing Kelly talking. He's like, but it sounded like she was on the other side of the house. And when he was kind of walking back through, I kind of noticed him rubbing his back. I was like, "Is your back okay?" And he's like, "Yeah, just a little sore." And I pulled up a shirt, and there were some scratches on his back, and you could tell that they were fresh scratches because they were still fairly pink. And I was like, "I don't know, man." I was like, something about this place. It's going to be an interesting night." And it was just like one thing after another that entire night.
Now, I'm really, because you always talk about like prisons and hospitals both being very active because of all the emotions that happen there and all the things that have happened there. But funeral homes is another one. There's like lots of living people had very hard emotions there too.
Right. And it's like, even though nobody actually died there, it housed, so many people that had passed away that.
Yeah. And fresh.
Right. And, like you said, all the different emotions that would come through that building from people being upset and everything else. It's just, it was an active night for us. So, I noticed you were on the cover of a magazine here recently.
Yeah.
How did that come about?
Well, I don't know if you record video and post it as well, but I am really attractive.
So that's how you got it, huh?
That's how I got it. It wasn't for anything other than my good looks. No, I the editor of American Paranormal magazine. We connected probably last January, maybe even before. Just talking about podcasting and she was working on that magazine. We became friends and kind of shot ideas back and forth. She's highlighted the show several times. Follows the show, listens to the show. She's even a member of my Patreon, which is really cool. So she's
Hell
a fan. Really cool lady, real driven, really has a good paper and a good system going up. Like, that's a great newspaper. And she did a contest at the end of the year. It was like the Paranormal Researcher of the Year.
Mm-hmm.
And I got second place. And it was by like something like 12 votes.
Oh,
something
man.
like that. So whoever the winner was the cover in December. And she's like, you know what? How about January? And then I was like, heck yeah. So
There you go.
So it was special. It was more special to me because the very first time she had put me in the magazine, did a highlight for the show, was the January prior. So it was like, just from a year, I went from being a highlight to on the cover.
Right.
Meant a lot, because I definitely never thought I'd be on the cover of a magazine.
Right.
Right. Because if y'all see me, I'm not as pretty as I sound.
I'm right there with you. I found out about American Paranormal magazine through Christy and Amanda, the Paranormal girl.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, I'd seen that, they had done a feature on her podcast, and I was just kind of curious. And she told me the story, kind of how it was more or less an accident in a way. It just, person reached out to me and this and that, and I was like, oh, that's cool. And so I was checking out the magazine, and I'd seen on their site how you could fill something out, and you can have your name or your team name posted on the very back page. I was like, well, I'm gonna fill that out. That's a little bit of exposure, no big deal. And Kim had contacted me after I did that, and she's like, hey, we've looked into your team. We want to feature you guys. I was like, okay. I was like, that's cool. and so we were, featured in the October edition, and excuse me. And then when that came out and everything, I reached out to her again and asked if she wanted to be a guest on the show. And she was like, oh, that's, I appreciate it. That's just not really my thing, but I have since I got your attention, the magazine's, starting to do really well, and all kinds of people are wanting to be a part of it. So we're kind of expanding and going to start doing state editions.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
And she was like, how would you and your team like to be on one of the first covers of the Tennessee edition?
Did you smile real big?
I did. I was like, holy shit, I was like, that's crazy. And I was like, absolutely. And she's like, well, it's not going to be until the beginning of the year, this and that. And so that magazine just came out, actually probably about a month ago. And I designed the cover of it.
How about that?
And so, you've been on the cover of it. We've been on the cover of it. So,
we're like twins.
Right. We got the beard and everything.
Kim is a great lady, so I hope she listens to both of our shows to hear us bragging on her.
She is.
I've been trying to get her on my show too. She'll let me talk about her forever, but I can't snatch her up to get on there.
So you say you do all these different conventions. Like, what was the very first convention you ever did?
Oh, what did they call it? Hold on. Let me see if I can find it. It was called, it was like Misfits and Metaphysicals Convention. So, it was something along that line.
Right.
But it was a long title. And they'd only done it the one time. And I think part of that team broke off and started their own, which is the Wonders Oddities Expo. And the folks that run that actually sponsor my show. So I get invites to every single one that they do. I only stay local. I've been out to like Pittsburgh one time with them, but I try to stay local just because with kids and work and stuff like that, it's tough to travel to some of these. I mean, they go all the way Pensacola, Florida. They're all over with what they do.
Right.
They do tattoo conventions. They got a tattoo convention coming up here, I believe in March at the penitentiary, where they're not only have like vendors, tattoo artists, they're doing like a dark carnival kind of theme to it. Like, it's going to be amazing.
Oh, wow.
So they go all out. They put on a really good show. They're great people. So all around, like, I love working with them. But they, like I said, they broke off from that original show that I had done. Right. And I just followed with them. They, I think it's like once a quarter. I've been doing one about every quarter with them. And then I do, there is one in, God, my brain. I wish my brain would work some days, man. It is called the Hidden Paranormal Convention, Expo. That is in Ohio. It's usually run by a team that does a lot of stuff at like Blennerhassett Island. Mm-hmm. And then the penitentiary does one itself called Paracon. I like to do that one. It's really cool, especially like as a podcaster, because you meet so many different groups and things that, one, I like hearing people's stories. I love the one-on-one contact with folks, especially now that I've been in the circuit for like a year and a half, probably, that, a lot of listeners come up and, share stories and, some repeat folks. Just that face-to-face is really good. But then you got all these groups that come through, and then you get to like talk with them and network with them and highlight them on the show as well. And then there's some, I don't want to say like higher named people, but like folks that have been on like TV and things like that you can start networking with. That really opens you up, opens some doors and things like that. So, I've made, friends with some of those folks too, that have been able to do some really cool things. So the fact that I could get them on my show, I'm like,
right.
I got to hang out with like Kalani Ghost Hunter, who's got like 1 million some followers on social media.
Right. He lives like right down the road from us. So
yeah, connect with him, get on some stuff.
Yeah, I've tried. I've reached out to him for a few times and he never responds back. Yeah, so
I couldn't imagine, like, because I know, Lord, my huge following on TikTok, which is like 7,000 something. Like, I get alerts nonstop, so I couldn't imagine what somebody who's got 1 million, like, his phone's got to constantly just be like bling 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 bling.
Right.
Like, I couldn't. That would mine gives me anxiety.
Right.
My wife gets on me because my phone's just on silent all the time.
Right.
I couldn't imagine. And I'm definitely a nobody, so I can't imagine.
Oh, well, I've got one other question for you before you wrap this up. Do you have anything else for me, man?
Oh, I could think of questions all night, but what you got?
Any plans to go back into investigating?
Full time? No.
Just here and there,
But
private residences, big places, just anything.
but yeah, I'd love to. Is it Iron City Paranormal in Pittsburgh?
Yeah, I've heard of them.
They invited me to do a show or an investigation with them overnight. I think it's in September. And yeah, like I plan on going.
Mm-hmm.
I'm sure, I don't want to wait a year. I would love to start because I used to rent the penitentiary out and host big events there.
Mm-hmm.
I would love to be able to do that again. You know, now that COVID's kind of over and people aren't afraid to like go outside anymore, I'd love to get that in the works because that was always it was a blast.
I'm sure.
It was a lot of fun. You get 20 people that are just
Right.
having a blast. Like I used to bring people in and do little presentations of what they do. Like I was talking about Dwayne Claude, who's a demonologist. He came in and did like a whole demonologist speech and played audio from real exorcisms right before going into the penitentiary. I think that really set the tone.
Right, I imagine.
Yeah, so I would like to do that again. To form a team and have to deal with all that, hats off to you. I don't think I got it in me right now. That's a lot of work and a lot of screening through people because people are crazy.
Right.
I love you all out there. I love every single one of you, but
Well, that's why my team consists of family and friends, so I ain't gotta.
It's not, and there's some teams out there, man, that 100% are open for other people to join them and different groups that join up together and do events.
Yeah.
Lord.
Now, I'm open to working with other teams. Yeah. There is quite a few teams here locally that want to work with us. We just hadn't ever got the chance to really line anything up yet. So,
have you had anybody really crazy reach out to you yet to want to come on the show?
Honestly, I haven't had very many people actually reach out to be on the show. I've reached out to most everybody that's been on the show.
Give it time.
I mean, the ones that
especially since you're a cover girl now.
I mean, the ones that have reached out, I mean, they've all been fine on paper, at least. Some that I haven't had on yet that's reached out that have lined up. So hopefully they work out. So.
Oh yeah, I got a message, and this was months ago from somebody that was just, Lord, I definitely hope they're not listening. but talking about like wanting they like to like invite the demons into their body so that they transform and all this kind of stuff. And like, I'd love to come on the show and talk about it. I'm like, I don't know if I want to talk about it.
Yeah, I don't know about all that now.
That's not what we're about here.
Right.
But there's some, folks have some interesting things that they like to do. And, hey, I'm not, I guess they say don't knock it till you try it. I don't plan on trying it.
Right.
So I'm not going to knock it, but it's not my cup of tea. So, I mean, there's some folks out there that like to do some things. So.
Right. Absolutely. There's a fine line. So. And that's one I don't think I'd want to cross either. So I'm open to handcuffing myself and stuff like that, but I don't think I want to invite a demon in my body. So,
hey, I want to ask you real quick. Super Bowl's not over yet. Who you got for the winner?
Well, like I said earlier, my team's not in it, but I'm gonna have to pull for the team that has two former players of my team on it. I have to pull for the Eagles, man.
There you go. They're winning right now.
So, they got AJ Brown, who they traded for, which I was very upset about when that happened because my team's the Titans. So I was very upset when they traded him last year. And they got our former punter too, Brett Kern, who actually I think he was inactive tonight. But I'm more rooting for Kern because he was with the team for like 12 seasons, and I'd really like to see him get a ring before he retires.
That's cool. That a guy that I used to work with when I lived down in Myrtle Beach, his name is Brian. His daughter married Carson Wentz.
Oh, wow.
Who used to be the quarterback for the Eagles. So, yeah, crazy story about how they got together. I tried to look it up. They didn't. But It's not like posted anywhere, so I'm gonna spill the beans a little bit.
Oh,
They were on a missions trip to like, I think it was Haiti, and
Mhm.
they were building houses. It was like after some kind of disaster they had there, so they were trying to help build houses. There was just a group, and I guess they felt they weren't doing it quick enough. So
Right.
like the townspeople were like chasing them with like sticks and throwing rocks at them and all this. So I worked with
wow.
Brian, who gets a phone call that like his daughter's like being chased and like threatened in another country, and
Mm.
they're chasing them. They lock them in like a storage container, and they're like trapped in there. So like he is freaking out and like pacing the office, screaming like, I gotta get, like everybody's looking up like plane schedules and stuff like that to get him. He's like, I have to go to the airport now, my little girl. Like he's going nuts.
Right.
But turns out she was locked in there with Carson Wentz.
Oh, wow. That's,
So that's
I mean, I guess
they met
I
on that
guess
trip.
it would be a. I guess it would be a good story to tell.
Yeah.
I do have one other thing. You're actually a firefighter, correct?
Yeah.
All right. So there's always stories about these fire halls being haunted. Is your fire hall haunted?
So crazy story, right? So I have video of our gear room. So we have like cameras and things like that. And
Mhm.
I was checking, and I'll send it to you. But like our gear rack and stuff is just sitting there. All of a sudden, like one of the jackets just starts swinging. It's like the middle of
Oh,
the
man.
night. So there's no doors open. There's nobody there. It's a volunteer station. So people are only there
Right.
if there's a call. But no vents, no doors open, no nothing.
Wow.
But the jacket just starts a swaying.
That's crazy.
So yeah, there could be something.
It sounds like there may be. So, all right, well, man, do you have anything else for me before we wrap this up, man?
Hey man, what's the next step for you? What are you doing?
We're just gonna keep on keeping on, man. 2022 was our biggest year that we've had so far. With the convention, the magazine. I've started the podcast.
That's a pretty big year.
Um, we had, I think we investigated 7 or 8 locations, which was the most we've done in a year. So we're just gonna keep doing what we do. I mean, we love doing this. We're not out there to get clicks and likes. If we get quote unquote TikTok famous or whatever, cool. If we don't, cool, because we're
It's
still
not
going to
the
be
reason.
doing this.
It's not the reason.
So we we've added a couple of new members here recently, and there's potential of adding a couple of new ones. So we're kind of getting into a bigger team, but which also benefits because some of these locations are kind of pricey, so that helps with that factor in it. And so yeah, I mean, we're just going to keep doing what we're doing. We got one coming up next weekend, and I've reached out to some people over the last couple of weeks about some new locations. I've just recently found out 2 of them, big surprise, are jails.
You?
So
I
right.
didn't think you guys did those.
So we're looking into that. We're wanting to travel a little bit farther. I think the farthest we've traveled so far has probably been about 4 hours. We're looking to get a little bit farther out. We don't want to go like cross country or anything, but
Well, how far is me from you?
West Virginia. I want to say, because I think I actually looked up.
So if you're looking it up, Moundsville, West Virginia is where the pen is.
Yeah, I was thinking, say, I think I looked it up one time. Let me see if I was correct. It is roughly, no, not bad, about almost 8 hours. So,
Okay, make you a trip up here. I'll go on a investigation with y'all there. I am not getting tied up and shackled and doing all that mess.
oh, come on now.
I will watch you with a flashlight.
Oh man, but yeah, like I said, we're wanting to travel a little bit farther out. So I mean, there's some locations that we've looked into in Ohio and I think Indiana. Like I said, Moundsville's one of the top places that I want to go. So I know I know Josh would be down for it. It's my wife that would be the one I have talking to traveling that far. So that may be like an all guys trip. Who knows? But yeah, I mean, we're just going to keep doing what we're doing for 2023 and then try to, I don't want to say top 2022, but like I said, 2022 was a big year for us and we just want to continue doing what we love, man.
Hey, hopefully you top it. I mean, that's big time, man. You guys have done a lot this past year. Not only
Oh.
have you grown, but exposure and things like that. I mean, it's
Right.
only going to go up. Do more conventions. They're addicting, man.
Yeah, like I said, we're definitely gonna try to do the one that we did last year. Like I said, I think if they've changed the name of it now, they're going to be called Tennessee Haunts and Legends Paranormal Expo.
Okay, that's a good name.
So they're kind of going in a different direction than what they did last year. But it's like I said, it's going to be fun. Actually, two of the people that do that, they were involved. Just Yeah, I guess I can spill the beans now because they have started releasing little trailers for it. They were involved in a filming of a pilot for a TV show, a paranormal show, obviously,
That's
and
cool.
they invited me to the premiere of it here in about a month.
Come on.
So I'm like, I was like, shoot me, location and dates and stuff, and I was like, I'll be there. So
What
So,
what is it on network or Netflix or I know is it shoot what is it? Is it Tubi or Pluto that's been doing a lot of paranormal shows?
yeah, I don't think they have it on anything yet. I know they've shot the first episode of it. I think they shot it at Missouri State Penitentiary.
Oh wow.
They released a little teaser trailer a few months ago, and they've been releasing little clips of each cast member. And I've actually got the cast going to be on the show here in a couple of weeks. So
Oh wow. That's
so
a
it's
good
probably going to
get.
be like it's going to be about 9 or 10 people on. So it's going to be interesting. So
That's gonna be fun, man.
so. All right, well, Jordan, I really enjoyed this. Like I said, it was different for both of us, kind of interviewing each other. So
Yeah, fun convo, some paranormal mind meld.
absolutely, man. Well, I'll definitely have to get you back on the show, and whenever you have a free date open, I wouldn't mind coming back on yours too. So
Well, you're on it right now, brother.
you make a good point. You make a good.
That's what
point.
you
There
get
we
when you
go.
can steal your own interviews.
There you go. All right. Well, everybody, I'm Damion from RKB Paranormal, Jordan Cline from Fireside Paranormal. Thank you for joining me, and me joining you. So,
Hey, have a good night, brother.
hey, you too, man. Have a good one.
Bye-bye. And with that, the fire is out. Thank you so much, Damion, for coming on the show. That was a lot of fun. I hope y'all enjoyed it too. Thank all of you for listening. If you haven't had the chance yet to catch up with me online, go to Fireside Paranormal Hub on Facebook. I'm also on Instagram, TikTok, Twitter at Fireside Parapod, Parapod. Make sure you get up with me, send me a message. I'd love to connect with y'all. We do have Patreon going on, patreon.com/Fireside Paranormal. Tiers start at just $1. We have a lot of extra bonus audio. With each guest, we have the behind-the-scenes conversation. So after the interview is over, we talk for another little bit. Usually a fun story comes out of that as well. We also do the interview-only section of the show. That way, if you're in a hurry, you want to get right to the topic, that's available as well to every level Patreon. So again, patreon.com/Fireside Paranormal. Make sure you go to the website, firesideparanormal.com. Click on that merch tab and get your sweet, sweet Fireside merch. And that is all the time we have for this week. Until next week, everybody, don't be afraid, only believe.